We have a major trade update regarding this Milwaukee Brewers team, as we have another update regarding Eugenio Suarez and what the possible return would be for him in a trade in this deal. And we're going to be breaking it down, going over this in here in this video. Before we do jump into it, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already and hit that notification bell. We're bringing you all your Brewers news while we go through this trade deadline season. We're expecting the Brewers to make some big moves. I'm going to bring it all for you guys here in this channel, but let's get straight into this, because obviously we've been talking about an Eugenio Suarez trade at the start of this channel, going over what the possibility would be, what the bonuses are for this Milwaukee Brewers team, but we now have an idea of what a trade could look like for this Brewers team to get another solid third baseman who is going to be one of the top home run leaders in this MLB season, Eugenio Suarez. Now, I do want to first pull up the quote we have here from Bleacher Report, going over the kind of idea from Zachary D. Reimer. Now, Reimer proposed a hypothetical swap in which the Brewers would ship right-handed pitcher Logan Henderson, who made his major league debut this season and ranks as one of the top overall prospects in the Brewers organization, to Arizona for Suarez. This is how you would know the Brewers are serious. Henderson is their best pitching prospect this side of Jacob Misiorowski, and he mostly looked the part as he posted a 1.71 ERA and a 4-start cameo through April and May. Now, as we look at what this trade would kind of entail, where we go from here, and everything at this side of the table, when we do look at a trade regarding Logan Henderson, this may be a bit of a bold one, and I'm not really kind of scared to say that. I feel like, although yes, Eugenio Suarez brings everything that this Brewers teams need, the power, the fielding is not great, the contact necessarily isn't great, but if he gets a hold of a ball, it is going yard, and that's one thing that we kind of need on this team. Of course, as we were looking past at it, the home run leaders on this team, not really high among MLB pitchers or MLB hitters, and when you're coming down to it as well, looking at this pitching staff, the Brewers have some of the best pitching staff, as well as kind of prospects in the MLB, which be willing to ship out, and as we know, the Arizona Diamondbacks are looking for a pitcher in return, and of course have been shopping the market in teams like the Mets, the Cubs, and elsewhere. And when we're looking at it, I think the Brewers rank as one of these underrated teams because, of course, Logan Henderson, in his 4 starts this year, has a 1.71 ERA, has been absolutely fantastic. And I think a lot of people are kind of disregarding the Brewers in this case, especially where they're now currently second in the MLB, but still been a very, very solid team. And I want to, once again, also pull up what we're looking at right here now as stats. And as you look, a 1.71 ERA, 4 starts in this season, 3-0 record, that's a phenomenal record. Now, of course, you have to kind of, once again, put this with the offense. The offense is playing great. And when you're kind of comparing this to, a very, mediocre team, I would say, and a great pitcher, we're, of course, giving Logan Henderson the help here. And, he has to hold his own, a great ERA, and has been putting up some very, very solid numbers. And even just watching him, he looks like the guy that a lot of teams are going to want at pitcher. And this kind of is a bold take. And, as I mentioned, it's a trade that, of course, as you think you would get done. Would the Diamondbacks take it? Would the Brewers take it? It makes sense for both teams, but there's a lot more to it than just a one-for-one player swap. And as I mentioned in a previous video about Eugenio Suarez, there's been reports as well of a 3-team deal and a 3-player deal. Just kind of crazy stuff leading up to it. Now, I also did want to pull up, when we're looking at it, the prospects rankings for this Milwaukee Brewers team, and just behind Jacob Misiorowski is Logan Henderson, and of course, you can kind of move anybody up and down in this list, but it does seem like it's nearly guaranteed that these are the rankings for the pitchers. Of course, both have played in the MLB this season. I think both are going to have fantastic careers wherever they may end up, but the Brewers have to make a big decision here. Whether they want to kind of make that risk now and get a possible loan with Eugenio Suarez, or they want to go all out, keep Logan Henderson, and really develop this to be one of the best rotations in the MLB in a couple of years' time. And I think there's 2 very good options. I think there's really, not necessarily a loss, especially if you do extend Eugenio Suarez, but the power is going to mean a lot for this Brewers team, and I'm very interested to see where it does go out. Now, as we kind of move into this and kind of talking about the bold decision-making, I want to pull up, once again, this continued article from the Bleacher Report and going over a kind of interesting look from Zachary once again. Yet, such a trade might be a little too aggressive for the Brewers, who have to sustain themselves on homegrown talent. And if Henderson is off the table, there isn't much in the way of an MLB-ready pitching alternatives to offer Arizona. Because as we look at it, obviously Jacob Misiorowski is not going at any sort of deal. Logan Henderson, although he's only played 4 games in the MLB, is a ready MLB pitcher. And of course, I'll kind of jump back to that screenshot as well. You see there on the right side, the ETA is 2025, which, of course, this season, we see that for him, Mizarowski, and Jefferson Quero. So I think that, the Brewers have a big decision to make, as I mentioned. I think that it's going to be something that comes down to the wire, perhaps. I think a lot of teams are in, I know a lot of teams are in on Eugenio Suarez. The Yankees are now out with them getting Ryan McMahon, so that's another team off the books. But, the Mets, the Cubs, two teams who are still very in on, I think, just about everybody, and it's kind of hard to assume they're not with how much they can really be willing to give up in a potential trade. So I think the Brewers, if they want to make this trade for Eugenio Suarez, they need to get stuff done and need to get it done quick so that they can outbid any team that is possible, and also kind of put out what they have out there, because Eugenio Suarez is not going to be going probably to the deadline. I think it's fairly safe to assume after some big trades have already been made. Now, I do also want to kind of take a look at Logan Henderson's kind of game averages throughout here, and so far, and every single start, he's been getting better and better and better. And of course, that was in April and May, so when you're looking at it now, it's very intriguing to see how much his improvement would have been gone if a tenure in the AAA would have kind of set him back a little bit. I think that you're looking at a Logan Henderson who is ready to make the MLB, of course, but also being a big surprise to a lot of teams and a lot of players and facing him when it comes down to him on the mound. So the Brewers have a lot of decision making. Now, I feel like a broken record, but this is not as simple as a 1-for-1 trade as an A for B. You're giving me a Kit Kat, I'm giving you a Mars bar. It's not as simple as that. When you're kind of coming down to it, of course, with all these internal stats and advanced analytics that teams now look at nowadays, and with what the Diamondbacks are trying to get in a pitcher in return for Eugenio Suarez, it's going to be interesting to see as well what other teams are going to be not just willing, but capable of giving up and really feeling comfortable. Because Logan Henderson, as the second best prospect in the roster, or in the organization for the Milwaukee Brewers on the pitching side of things, they're making a bold move here for a potential rental, if not signing an extension. But you're getting a lot of home runs, and I think that's a big thing that the Brewers are really looking for to add to this season. Now, I also want to pull this up, because this is another interesting fact or not necessarily fact, but idea when it comes down to where Logan Henderson could stand for the remainder of the Brewers season. And Brandon Woodruff and Nestor Cortes both pitched in simulated games on Monday. Now, when you're looking at the date of this was June 23rd, so these guys have been really making a comeback for a little over a month now. And Woodruff, who hasn't pitched into the major leagues since September 2023, threw 60 pitches. Cortes made 2 starts in the year, going on an injured list early April through 23 pitches in simulated games, and about 20 to 30 more in a bullpen session. So, a month ago now, you're looking at these players trying to make a comeback. Will he be back anytime soon? Reports are saying they will, and I think kind of going back into this as well, looking at a different side of things, Jose Quintana and Nestor Cortes will be gone next season, leaving in free agency. Freddy Peralta has only 1 year left on his contract. Brandon Woodruff's future with the team is unknown, despite the good vibes surrounding the long-awaited comeback. And, looking at all of these factors now, comparing that to where Logan Henderson currently stands with the Brewers, are the Brewers really willing to give up their second-best prospect pitcher and potentially losing everybody but Freddy Peralta here, and, of course, Jacob Mizarowski in a deal? And I think that's where the Brewers really are kind of teetering on this edge of absolutely making this trade or really holding back on it. I think it's a 50-50, and I think it's really two sides of the coin that this team is trying to, hold off on before they make a deal that will help them this year, but really could mess up the entire future if this year goes kind of astray near the postseason. So I want to know what you guys think. Are you kind of content with the Logan Henderson, Eugenio Suarez swap? Do you think there needs to be more or less? What do you think? Or are you comfortable even giving up Logan Henderson in the first place for not just Eugenio Suarez, but anybody in the MLB at this trade deadline? Let me know what you think. I do want to pull this up before we do finish this off, and this one is kind of that trade that I mentioned earlier where you have your 3 players for Eugenio Suarez, which is another kind of interesting one where people are linking Logan Henderson to the Diamondbacks in this trade, but also going to add more, which is kind of interesting when it comes down to the 1-for-1 swap for Henderson and Suarez. And this is what Jared Radcliffe of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel proposed a mock trade for colleague for Curtis Hogg to weigh in. Right-handed pitcher Logan Henderson, Brett Witrowski, and infielder Josh Adam Chweski. I know I very apologize if I pronouncing those names wrong. I likely am. To Arizona for Eugenio Suarez. So when you're looking at a Logan Henderson for Eugenio Suarez. It's a very interesting look when you're getting deals like this proposed in other articles. So, like I said, let me know what you guys think here in the comments below. I'm very intrigued, and of course, a lot of Milwaukee Brewers news coming. I'm going to have it all for you here on the channel. You won't want to miss it, but be sure to hit the sub button. But that's all I got. If you enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, and remember that notification bell for all of your breaking trades that are coming over this next week. We're going to have it all here, but like I said, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.